All right, first and foremost, we're going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. That's all praise to the Most High God. In the name of his only begotten Son, who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. Right? The brother Aliyah
and the brother Laab
from the Angels of Yahweh, South Carolina. You know, today I want to briefly touch on these Israelites that proclaim to be, you know, in the truth. All right, they know they Israelites, but they trying to save all the other nations. Right? Chiefly, they want to save the Edomites. Right? Well, the Lord called them our enemy. Go to the book of Psalms, chapter 83. Right? Let's just get straight to it. Because y'all soft Israelites, y'all not going to make it. You're going to be caught out there when Jacob's trouble happens. Right? You know, the so-called white man, they gonna trade on you so quick. All right, go read that, Salaki.
Khan. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
O Yahweh.
Salaki, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies.
Thy what?
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
All right, so it's basically about to go into all the nations, right? It's about to let you know that all the nations hate the Israelites, right? Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
All right, so you got the heathen clicking up. You know, they down. All right, they like, hey, let us come together, you know, to destroy the Israelites. That's what they doing. You know, but it's the same people that you Israelites that know you're Israelites, but you want to damn save the other nations. These are people y'all want to save, right? Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Right, that's what the other nations did. All right, they clicked up and said, hey, let's cut the Israelites off from being a nation. All right, read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Damn, took your identity away from you. Right, read.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
Right, read.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Who?
The tabernacles of Edom.
Right, so the Edomites are the first nation mentioned. Why? Because they're the chief enemy of the Israelites. You know, you had Jacob and Esau fighting in a womb. Genesis, the 25th chapter. Right, so they've been our opposition from the very beginning. Right? Hey, and it ain't no difference today. Right? They still are opposition. You know? Read on.
And the Ishmaelites.
The so-called Arabs.
Of Moab.
So-called Chinese, man. But that's the point. We focusing on Edom. Because that's the main nation that you Israelites want to save for some odd reason. You can't take the white man where you going, right? You know what? He will be there in the kingdom of heaven, but as a slave, right? And they like to say, well, vengeance isn't ours, it's the Lord's. Yeah, you're right, it is the Lord's, but who is he going to use to, you know, show, what's the word I'm looking for? Recompense his anger.
Right,
go to Ezekiel.
Bring about his vengeance.
Ezekiel 25:14. Real quick.
That's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 25, verse 14.
Bring it out.
And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom.
Upon who?
Upon Edom.
Read on.
By the hand of my people Israel.
Right, so the Lord said that he going to use you to recompense his vengeance. Right? You know, so he going to have you to damn chop a Edomite head off. That's what the Lord said. Right? Read on.
And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel.
Right.
And they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury.
According to my anger and fury. Right. You know, so the Lord is angry at the Edomites to this day. Like you read Malachi, the first chapter. Jump down to verse 4. It says, to the people, talking about the Edomites, who the Lord had indignation with forever. Right? And we know the Lord don't change. And when you go into the Hebrew for that word indignation, it literally means foaming at the mouth. So the Lord, you know, that describes the hatred the Lord has for the Edomites. Right? as if he's foaming at the mouth 24/7. But it's the people that you Israelites want to save. You know, the same people that don't give a damn about you, right? Had you in captivity after captivity. 332 BC, the Greek captivity. 70 AD, the Roman captivity. 1619 AD, in the American captivity. You know, Babylon the Great, right? But, hey, you want to save these people, right? They don't give a damn about you. You know, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 25 and start at verse 17. All right. Because you soft Israelites, you know, ain't going to make it. Thou shalt not abhor Edomite. You don't even know what that's talking about. You know?
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt.
Right, so that's a commandment for the Israelites to remember what Amalek did, right? You know, who's Amalek? That's the grandson of Esau. Amalek is still Edomites, right? The modern day Amalek is the so-called Jew, like the 1948er, that stole your identity, right? But it's the people y'all want to save, right? The Lord in Malachi, the first chapter, called them the border of wickedness, right? You know, read.
Jump to verse 19.
No, read verse 18 too.
All right, come. Verse 18. How he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee.
Right, so you had Amalek, right? You know, he creeped up on the Israelites and he smote them. I mean, he was killing us, right? That's what the Edomites did. But here you have it. Y'all want to save these people, right? They've been our enemy since the beginning, right? They're going to be our enemies to the end, right? Luke 1:67 says that we shall be saved from our enemies. You know, so they still our enemies today. They forever going to be, you know, because I know you may have an Israelite that say, well, that was back then, right? But why does prophecy, Luke 1:67, chapter 1, verse 67 says, we shall be saved from our enemies. So they going to continue to be our enemies. They are enemies right now, you know, to this day, right? Read on.
Even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh.
Right, so Amalek, he ain't feared the Most High God, right? You know, and we see that. Hey, the Amalekites over there in the land, you know, they don't even believe, only thing they believe in a Messiah, right? They non-Messianic. Most of them don't even believe in God over there.
Majority of them are atheists.
Yeah. You know, so, hey, you know they ain't the people, right? It said they didn't fear the Lord. Read.
Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
Right, so it says, you know, the remembrance of Amalek is going to be blotted out from under heaven, meaning they're going to be exterminated. Right, just like the book of Obadiah, you know, says there be none remaining at the house of Esau, but yet you're trying to save the Edomites. For what? Right? They're going to get exterminated after serving the Israelites 1,000 years in the kingdom of heaven on earth. Right, let's go to Psalms chapter 137. Psalms chapter 137.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 137, verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom.
Don't forget.
Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom.
All right, read.
In the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed.
All right, so, hey, Edom, they ought to be destroyed, right? You know, read.
Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stone.
All right, so the Lord said you're going to be happy when you take a damn Edomite baby and damn throw him off a cliff, right? you're going to be happy in that day. You ain't going to be damn cooning. You ain't going to be doing none of that, right? So you might as well start cooning now, right? You're going to be happy when you down. You playing down catch with an Edomite baby, you know, and the brother might miss, you know, the little baby head might splatter against the ground, right? That's what's going to happen. Read that part again.
Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones.
Right, you going down, you going down, you know, bash an Edomite baby head to the stone. Right, that's what's going to happen. Right, you know, but the nation you're trying to save, the nation. Go to Ezekiel 35, and I believe it's verse 1. Right, the Lord is against Edom. Right. Yeah.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir.
Right. Who's Mount Seir? That's, you know, another word, another name for the Edomites. Read.
And prophesy against it. And say unto it, thus saith the Lord God, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee.
All right. So the Lord said he's against, you know, the Edomites. Right. But hey, you trying to be joined hand in hand with them, you know? We know what the scripture say about that. Where is that? I believe it's in Proverbs. Join hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. Let me try to Salakia. Try to find that precept fast. Right, so this is the book of Proverbs chapter 11 verse 21, and it reads, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. All right, so even though you damn linking up with the Edomites, saying they can get salvation, hey, the Lord said they're not going to go unpunished. And he said the wicked. Who's the wicked? Go to Malachi, the first chapter. Hold Ezekiel, Salakia. All right, it said the Edomites are the border of wickedness. You know, we might as well get to the point.
All right,
verse 4.
This is the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down.
All right, so the Lord said every damn empire or whatever the Edomites built, the Lord going to throw it down. He threw down ancient Rome. You know, he threw down the Greco-Roman Empire. All right, he about to get ready to throw down America. All right, read.
And they shall call them the border of wickedness.
All right, so the Edomites are the border of wickedness. Right? You know, let me read Proverbs again. Proverbs 11 and verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. All right, so you can't save the Edomites, you know. No matter, hey, you trying to say damn John 3:16 mean the Edomites can be saved? You know, you trying to pull Galatians 3:28 to save an Edomite, right? That's what some of you Israelites try to do, you know. We're going to finish Ezekiel, the 35th chapter. We ain't going to read the whole thing, but then we're going to jump to the book of Obadiah, right? We might wrap it up with that. This we'll see.
That's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
All right.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred.
Right? You know, because thou has had a perpetual hatred, right? Meaning, you know, what that word perpetuate mean? Like, basically, they just hate your guts since the beginning, right?
Right.
You know, on a whole nother level of hatred, right? Because, read that again.
because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity.
Right, so the Lord said, hey, for everything they put us through, they got to pay for it, right? For damn throwing our babies to alligators. All right, that's why Psalms 137 says that, you know, we going to dash their little ones to pieces. Because didn't they do that to us? Right, wasn't they throwing our babies to alligators? Right, wasn't they doing that? You know, yeah, they got to pay for that. That's what the Lord said. All right, is it more than that?
Yeah. In the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
All right, yeah, that's it on that. Let's go to Obadiah. Let's get the judgment of the Edomites, right? The nation that you Israelites want to save so bad. You soft Israelites, you know, that want to love your enemy. All right? It starts at verse 8.
This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 8. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom?
Right, so the Lord said he was going to destroy even the wise men out of Edom. The damn Donald Trump, Donald Devil Terror Trump, right? You know, he may seem wise to the world, right? But we know, hey, Proverbs 21:1, what it say? The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, right? You know, Donald Trump may seem wise to, you know, Jakes and Eves in the world and all these other, you know, nations and Edomites, right? But we know the Lord just using him, and then the Lord going to destroy him too, all right? Read that again.
Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau?
All right, and the understanding, all right? Read.
And thy mighty men, O T-men, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter.
Right? Every one. Not one Edomite is going to be here. But you want to save them. Right? The Lord said, every one out of the mount of Esau. Read that again. Because you got some Israelites that really sit here and say Edomites can be saved. All right?
To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter.
And there's nothing we can do about that, right? You can't go against the Lord's word. You know, that's what the Lord said. So who are we to damn say, you know, try to go against the Lord? All right, that's really wicked. You trying to damn save Esau, but the Lord said he against them and he going to exterminate all of them. Hey, you should just be like, hey, that's what the Lord said. Hey, we can't do nothing about it. But instead, you want to damn save them. Right? Read on.
For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever.
All right, so the Edomites is finished. Right? Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
There shall be some remaining.
And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
I like this white woman, and it's, you know, my neighbors I knew my whole life. And they kind of cool.
Right.
Looking at, like, read.
And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
Right, but I like Jim Carrey a little bit.
And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
Right? Because, like, you know, the Lord says shall not be any remaining. We don't care what Edomite, you know, you grew up watching. You know, what Edomite made you laugh. You know, yeah, they make us laugh too sometimes because they goofy, for real. We don't take them serious. Hey, but we still know that they going to get exterminated one day. All right? Read.
And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it.
All right. For the Lord has spoken it. Not because Aliyah and La'ah spoken it.
Right.
Because the Lord has spoken it. There's nothing we can do about it. You want to sit here and go against the Lord. Right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes 7:7. Right? Like Psalms 137:9 said, you going to be happy dashing their little ones to the stone. You know? You going to be happy in that day. Right? Why is the Lord letting you do that if he said don't abhor Edomite? That's because you don't have the proper understanding what abhorring an Edomite is. What I tell you to get?
Ecclesiastes 7:7.
Yeah.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
So the Edomites, they still oppressing us to this day. All right. So the Lord said, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. Let's go to Baruch chapter 3 and verse 8. Because we still being oppressed to this day. Why? Because we're subject to payments. All right. And we know if we're subject to payments, that means we're still in captivity, according to the book of Baruch chapter 3, verse number 8.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us.
Right? So we're yet this day in our captivity, where the Lord scattered us. Deuteronomy 28:64, right? As a curse, read.
For a reproach and a curse.
And a what?
And a curse.
Read.
And to be subject to payments.
To be subject to what?
And to be subject to payments.
Right, so, hey, the scriptures say, if you're subject to payments, you're in captivity. You know? Ecclesiastes 7:7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. So you out here damn loving your damn slave master, Esau, right? You're not very wise, right? You know, you love getting up every day to go work that 9 to 5. And that ain't how it should be, right? Ecclesiastes 12:13 says, this is the whole duty of man, to fear Yahweh and keep the commandments. Not to get up and go down and work for the slave master. You know, that's not your whole duty. Right? But it's the same people y'all want to save. You know? You can't make it up. Right? I don't want to hear none of that, well, they grafted in. Right? We just read to you that all Edomites would be exterminated. How you going to deal with that? Right? That's thus said the Lord. Right? But, hey, we're going to wind it down. You know, y'all Israelites need to come out of that trying to save Esau, because there's nothing you could do about it. The Lord already said, hey, he going to use you to destroy him. All right? You know, we're going to wind down with that. Giving all praise, going honor to Yahweh Shai again. You know, stop trying to say the white man. I want to say, call halal, Yahweh Shai. Kwame Yasharala.
Kwame Yasharala.